Hello, and welcome to another episode of Flyby. I think I'm gonna start calling these episodes Flybys because we will be flying by around the earth. Right, so today we are going to test the flight in a place that I have never been to before, but I've always been interested in going there, and that is Central America. There's a lot of storm clouds here, but I think we can still do it. I am looking to cross over the Panama Canal. I am guessing this is where it is. This looks like the lake which is supposed to be there on the Panama Canal. Sure, why not? Let's test this out, get in here, try to see if the Panama Canal is indeed here. If not, we will get ourselves a view of a very interesting Central American country. So we will start at Marcos A. Gelbert International, and our arrival is going to be at Enrique Adolfo Jimenez Airport. Yes, both of these are asphalt airports. It says that it's going to be a very short flight, and that's mainly because we have a Textron Aviation Cessna Citation jet over here. These things go at really high speeds. Its cruise speed is around 483 knots. We are not going to use that. We are going to jump back into our props. But we are going to use the Diamond aircraft for this one. Mainly because I think it's a little bit of a longer route than the one we did yesterday. So we can expedite it a little bit. Doesn't seem to be so. It's only 30 nautical miles. I believe yesterday's trip was around 28 nautical miles. So it's pretty much close to the same. But I guess the video is going to be a little bit shorter. So we can loop around a little bit, check out some of the things which are around here. There seem to be a lot of towers here for us to see, which is again one of the things that makes me think, yeah, see, this is the point, Panama City. So this is Panama. So this is what made me think that this was Panama, because of the Panama Papers. Panama. Is that how we say it? Is Panama. We call it Panama Canal. But yeah, sure, why not? I'll pretend to be somebody who calls it the Panama, right? So let's jump into it. It's VFR, direct GPS, yada yada, things which don't really matter much. I mean, technically it does matter because it's visual flight rules for us, because we are going to be flying with our eyes and not the instruments. Incidentally, I've always wondered where this is. It reminds me a lot of New Zealand, because when my wife and I visited New Zealand, we saw a lot of these roads that led up to lakes that had mountains on two sides, and then just filled the gap in between, just filled the valley, and then the towns were normally around the lakes. So a pretty beautiful place. New Zealand's really beautiful. My only private plane that I had ever hired and used was in New Zealand, to go from Queenstown to Milford Sound, and my god, we were excited about the cruise at Milford Sound, but turned out that the flight there was the highlight. Right, we are in Panama right now. Seems like a decently clear day. Oh, we are at taxi. We are not on the runway. So we'll have to... Right, so we'll have to get ourselves onto the runway. Okay, so our airport is located here. This is where we need to go. I guess we will use that. So before that, we are already on the runway. So without further ado, let's have a look at the cockpit. This was a plane I was driving before, and I really liked the cockpit of this because it looks more like a plane than a futuristic spaceship thingamajig that we used last time. So I can see quite a few people, I think 5 over here, and we've got the generic bells and whistles and joysticks with no USB drives, which are reminiscent of an actual plane. So that's good. Right, so let's go back to normal view, jump out, hit our parking brakes and throttle up. I'm not sure what is our exact rotate speed, but that shouldn't matter because it's going to come up pretty soon and show us what it is. So this plane is really fast. This plane is pretty fast, and I kind of like flying in it. The control of this is very similar to the, let's rotate 60 knots, I guess. Ooh, what was that? There was a gust of wind. My feet are not on the pedal, so it wasn't a mistake that I did. Right, so let's jump up to 500 feet and have a little look-see around. My god, this is gorgeous. Now, because I haven't been here, I kind of assume... Right, we are continuing for north departure. Thank you very much. Since I have not been here, I assume that this is the kind of, these are the kind of trees that they have here, and this is the green which you actually find here. So, flying in a place which at least you assume is rendered correctly is pretty nice. Because the last flight was brilliant that we did, going from Trichy to Tangier, which, by the way, ooh, look at this road. Just makes a loop around. Is that like a bypass? Alright. Thank you. Right, this road looks nice. It's like a bypass. Okay, so this is... Okay, thank you. This is Panama City. 80 knots, 87 knots is it? So let's dial back a little bit and have a look at the skyline. This looks nice. I assume there are a few more tall buildings here. I guess these are the buildings that... Oh my god, these two idiots trying to become best friends on my radio, talking over me. Anyway, I think these are custom buildings which have been made specifically for Panama City. Possibly because Panama City is famous and a lot of people would fly around here. Look at that Pacific Ocean, so calm. It's actually interesting. The name Pacific Ocean doesn't necessarily suit this particular ocean because it's not a quiet ocean. There's a lot of storms and there's a lot of all sorts of things which go on here, which basically make it quite a tumultuous ocean. But that's what I guess the early explorers and Spaniards decided to call it. So they were like, fine, let's just call it the Pacific. We seem to have some low clouds, which is not ideal for what we are trying to do, but I am going to be flying in live weather. That's a decision I've made just to see how it is. So we'll try to go through this cloud possibly at a lower angle so we can marvel at one of the greatest achievements of man, which is to dig, and not just dig, to try and figure out how to take ships across land. So generally anybody, most people would be aware of this this story, which is the story of geography. This was an isthmus. An isthmus is a tiny sliver of land which connects two bodies of water. So this is not necessarily a tiny sliver of land, because I think the Panama Canal is somewhere around 85 kilometers long, but they separated two oceans, and this was very, very critical. So let's hover over here for a little bit as we look around. My goodness. Right, so you can see that there are quite a few canals down there. So there's one which is hold it. Right, so there's one which goes here that splits into two canals, and then there's another which, let me get it, which goes there. Let's stabilize again, turn around and see if this works this time around. Right, I am a little bad with controlling my mouse because my mouse is on the right and that's where the joystick is. Maybe I should try the active pause, which is a very interesting feature. Now that's something again that I can show you guys. So we can have a little look-see around. So here goes active pause. That wasn't it. Brought up something else. Okay. Active pause. Right. The second try was brilliant. So what we see here is the plane is actually flying, but it's paused. So sometimes it eats up your fuel, and variables keep changing because the air currents, everything is flowing except your plane is stuck here. But this is much better for us to look around, and we can see that there are a couple of canals going over here and here and here, and this is because the Panama Canal, unlike the Suez, works on a lock system. What happens is, you see these here, I think these are the ones. Actually this looks like it's an overflow lane, so maybe those are not the ones. Is it here somewhere? Maybe it's not getting rendered here, but the Panama Canal actually has locks. Locks are these great big doors which kind of lift up, and then you can fill the other side with water. So it's kind of like trying to get a boat to climb a stair. So you close one stair and then bring the water level up so that the boat can go on to the next stair, and then you close this stair and then you open the next one, and then you move it for. I'm gesticulating with my hands like an idiot, because I guess that's what I am. But yeah, it's a beautiful system because the elevation is different. The elevation at sea level is different from what it is at the lake. So essentially what happened was, there was a tiny little sliver of land and then a lake on top of a hill or a mountain, and then a tiny little sliver of land again. So you had to get the ships from the ocean to the lake, which was on top of a hill, and then from the lake on top of the hill again. Oh, what got my flaps over there? Not sure. So from the lake on the hill, you need to get it back down into the ocean, which means you need to have a canal and you need to have locks so you can elevate the ship to that level. So that's basically what it is. Of course, one of the major limitations of this is that at each lock there are multiple locks. There are like, I'm not exactly sure how many, 3 or 4, but for each lock there is a specific depth that a ship can, a specific depth that the lock can have. So the ship has to be a ship which can fit into that, which is why when you talk about ships and you talk about the deadweight tonnage, I think around 65,000, 70,000, something like that is a maximum capacity for a certain kind of ship called a Panamax ship. Panamax is basically the maximum size or weight that can go through the Panama Canal. So you've got Panamax ships, you've got post-Panamax ships. You don't have pre-Panamax ships. You just have like Panamax, post-Panamax. So you have Suezmax too. I have seen a few of those in and around here in Thailand. So that's something, I guess. So I guess we've gone up a little bit in elevation. There are a few hills here. I wonder if this canal, I guess so. I guess this canal would have been built. You can see how this canal system is much more organic than the Suez. Suez is pretty much a straight line. Now there's a lot of factors. First thing is that this was on hilly terrain. So I guess there were natural indentations which people thought might as well use. And the second thing is this was built, if I'm not mistaken, during the early 1900s, I guess, after America was a free country, because I've heard that Citibank financed this project. So definitely after America got its independence. But this was like a lot of people have discussed. One of the major colonial nations which had a lot of economic interest in this area were the Spanish. And so the Spanish definitely would have thought of how to get stuff from the Pacific coastline to the Atlantic coastline, because I mean they had to. That's what a colony was, wasn't it? Oh, we are overspeeding. Let's go down a little bit to, let's say, 50%. Right, I'm not able to hold it at 50, so fine, 49. Sure, why not? See, it doesn't hold at 50, goes to 49, goes to 51. Kind of likes odd numbers. It's almost like my brother. Right, so as we were talking about the Spanish, so the Spanish, all the colonial nations basically wanted to get raw materials from here back to Europe, because wars for resources in Europe were becoming too expensive. So once they found out that there were colonial nations where people weren't interested in all of these resources that they found extremely interesting, they decided to go over there and start to utilize some of those resources, start to mine some of those resources. And so they had a lot of interests in this part of the world. So I'm pretty sure that there were Spanish kings who were interested in getting the Panama Canal up and running, but none of that actually panned out. So we are reaching the lake system. So all of this, because just because there are so many inlets and stuff, doesn't seem like this is constructed. So I'm pretty sure either a canal system was dug out just to connect the lakes together, although that might not be the case. I think this is the actual lake. Interesting fact about this lake is that, if I'm not mistaken, this is a freshwater lake and it's filled by rain. So there's actually a loss of water every time the Panama Canal operates. Water is lost to the ocean, because I mean this is higher, right? You're not going to have pumps pumping up salt water. That's just too expensive for you to operate. It just makes sense for you to use this water. And basically just let me trim us up a little bit, so we're gaining elevation, the speed is under control, and everything's pretty fine. I don't think going a little bit higher should be much of a problem. We're just 2800 feet from the ground, which is not much because the elevation's high. Anyway, so there is a loss of water from this lake, which in the dry season especially is kind of difficult for you to handle, because you lose 2 times the amount of water to fill up the people coming in and then to fill up the people leaving. So they kind of synchronize it, and still during the dry season they get certain issues with water levels. So I think they built a dam or something somewhere here, just to make sure that the water doesn't get wasted some other way. But this is beautiful. This is simply beautiful. I would really like to go over here. Game doesn't seem to simulate any traffic here, so that's something that would be interesting if that's what it did. So the Spanish actually had a lot of interest here because some of the Peru was pretty much well developed, and then the Pacific coast of Mexico was also pretty well developed, I guess. And these places are really mountainous. Like to cross over from the west coast to the east coast, starting from southern North America all the way to South America, is pretty intense because you need to traverse through all of these mountains. So I'm pretty sure that Spain tried to do something. Spain would have at least had a plan for building a canal or something like that, so that they could make their ships go through this place faster. But then again, thinking of the technology, if Spain were to do this, Spain would have done this during their heyday, which was around the late, or rather mid 1500s to the early 1600s, or even a little bit after that. So during that period, sailing times were insane. They were massive. They were massively insane. So crossing across the Panama Canal via road or whatever other method they used, they probably had like multiple stops, like mules or carts, or they were more sophisticated than that. They probably had like a rail system that brought it up to one side of the river, one side of the lake, and then they had barges on the lake which took it to the other side, and then they brought it down. So there were, yes, from a logistics point of view, you are increasing handling, which is going to increase your cost. But when you look at the overall picture of how far this product has to travel for it to reach Spain, this is a tiny little amount. Even if it was just 10% of the overall cost, that's not that much. So what we can see up front is pretty much the Atlantic Ocean. So we have traversed across America, is something that we could say, although it's just Central America. I think it's oriented south-north, the airport, just trying to make out the silhouette of the runway. I'm not sure if that's right. Also, does it have two entrances and exits? So what we have on the left, what we have on the west, or rather northwest, northwest over here. Yeah, the heading is 318, right? So northwest over here seems a little more squarish. So that gives me a hint that, it's probably man-made. Is this the dam? Is this the dam that stops? So what we have here is basically some sort of man-made structure. Doesn't look like it's a road because it seems like it's touching the water. So this could actually be the dam that stops spillway from here, right? So which means, oh yeah, this is an independent, this is not connected to the rest of the lake. So I guess that's the dam that they built to stop spillage. Might as well be. Let's quickly jump in to see how it looks from inside. Beautiful view of the cockpit we have here. Beautiful instruments. Really love this. This is so much more like what I imagine flying a plane would be. Don't get me wrong, the other one was amazing, especially because that was amphibious. Oh yeah, that was amphibious. I failed to mention that. That plane with its wheels retracted could basically land on water and take off from it. A little conscious there because I said basically, and I realized after watching the previous video that I say basically a lot. I don't know. that's just how I mean, even people whose first language is English have quirks like this, don't they? So unless it's extremely annoying, in which case I am sure you guys would comment about it. It's fine. I guess it's fine. Which reminds me, did I greet you guys? Let me go over it again if I just forgot. Hello, hello, and welcome to Flight Simulator by Microsoft. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you like the videos as I dip down these clouds, and do leave some comments if you think they are worth sharing or anything interesting. If by some weird, freakish accident you are from Panama, I would love to hear about Panama from you. Buenos dias. This is live weather, so it's really interesting because to think that this cloud is actually over Panama right now and I'm flying through it. For all the texture problems that we have and the stinking little FPS that I get, this is awesome. Look at that. You can, over here on this cloud, you can see the sun come through the cloud and actually illuminate that. I don't know if it's the sun coming through the cloud or if there's rain there or what's happening. There's something happening for sure, and it's just beautiful. I don't even know if it's realistic. It's probably realistic. I don't know if it's realistic, but it's amazing. So we can get a quick look at the locks over here again. So this is the overflow, I guess, and these are the locks. There are some farms here. Sweet. Wonder what they grow here. There she is. Straighten up a little bit. We're losing a lot of altitude. That shouldn't matter much. Let's try to get a good look at the airport. How are you oriented, my friend? You are that way, which means I need to lose some altitude. And I need to point right towards you. Enrique Adolfo Jimenez really likes Spanish. Yeah, I get this feeling that Spanish. Oh, something happened. I'm not going to restart it now. There's a program on my computer called Sonic Studio. I don't even remember when I installed it. Hopefully it's not a virus. But yeah, it's asking me to restart the computer to update something, which I am sure as hell not going to do. Especially since we are losing around 500 feet. I think that's per second. Is it no, that sounds insane. It's not per second. It's probably per minute. And we are at 2500. Right, let's throttle back a little bit just so we lose some speed and elevation, which is also important. This is kind of like parking your truck at the factory in Euro Truck Simulator. It's just so satisfying when you slowly plan every single thing and then align yourself to the runway, and I'm not touching my controls. My plane's shaking because of wind. This game is amazing. It doesn't, like, somebody was asking me today if it has the rumblers, kind of like the ones that you get on driving simulators. Oh my god, I hope I can make it. I don't want to go for a turnaround. like the driving simulators, if the joystick rumbles when there's some, I know that, you know, the actual joystick or the throttle, not the throttle quadrant, the actual oh, landing gears, forgot about them, the actual yoke rumbles when you, oh, we are going a little bit, I hope we have enough runway. So the yoke quadrant rumbles when there is a terrain alert, just to jolt the pilots into knowing that there is a little bit of danger going on. Ooh, we bounced. That's never good. That's a horrible, horrible landing. There's no taxiway? Oh man. Right. Thank you for watching. This was a horrible landing, but the more we land, the better we get at it. I'll be back shortly with another video. Until then, take care now. Bye bye then.